Betrayal doesn't always come from your enemies. Sometimes, it comes from the person sitting right next to you, smiling, nodding, waiting for the perfect moment to twist the knife. In Tulsa King, Episode 6, we see Dwight Manfredi standing on the edge of two worlds, one built on loyalty and crime, the other on family and regret. But when those worlds collide, blood always follows. This episode doesn't just break trust. It tears it apart piece by piece, leaving us wondering, can a man who's done so much wrong ever escape the price of his past? Episode 6 opens with a strange kind of calm, the kind that only exists right before everything falls apart. The streets of Tulsa look peaceful, but beneath that quiet, something dangerous is moving. Dwight has built his small empire from scratch, turning old allies into partners and enemies into business opportunities. The man once known as the General is finally gaining control of this new world. But power in Tulsa doesn't come without enemies. Every smile hides a motive, and every handshake could mean another setup waiting to unfold. Dwight seems confident, but behind those calm eyes, there's tension. He knows the storm is coming. You can feel it in the way he moves, the way he talks less and listens more. He's a man who's lived too long to mistake silence for safety. But what he doesn't see, what none of us expect, is how close the danger really is. The threat isn't across town. It's right beside him. Someone he trusts, someone who's shared drinks and plans with him, is about to break the code that Dwight has lived by his entire life. Loyalty above everything. The camera lingers on Dwight's routine, his quiet mornings, his long drives through Tulsa, his rare moments of reflection. He thinks about his daughter, Tina, trying to fix something that feels too broken to mend. He's caught between two impossible choices, being a father or being a boss. In this episode, that struggle feels heavier than ever, because every move he makes for his family pulls him deeper into the life he's trying to leave behind. Every promise of peace brings a new reason for war. The story builds slowly, and we start to see the cracks forming in his world. His crew begins to question his choices, the money, the new partnerships, the risks he's taking. Some whisper that Dwight's getting soft. Others think he's losing control. The problem is, in Dwight's world, even a whisper can become a weapon. All it takes is one wrong word in the wrong ear, and loyalty turns into suspicion. By the time Dwight realizes it, the betrayal has already started. It's small at first, someone not showing up, a deal falling apart, a message that never reaches him. But those little things start to connect. And what he finds at the center will change everything. There's a heavy feeling in this episode. Like the city itself is holding its breath. Every conversation carries weight. Every glance feels loaded with meaning. You can sense that something big is coming. Something violent, something final. Dwight is trying to keep control, but you can tell it's slipping through his fingers. And when it does, it won't just be his empire that falls. It'll be the people he cares about most. The first section of this story sets the tone, quiet tension, hidden motives, and the slow burn of betrayal. It reminds us that in Tulsa, survival isn't about being strong. It's about seeing the knife before it hits your back. And right now, Dwight is staring straight ahead, not realizing it's already being sharpened behind him. The calm that once surrounded Dwight's world starts to fade, piece by piece. The same men who once followed his every order now exchange looks when he speaks. They nod, but their eyes tell a different story, one filled with doubt, greed, and quiet fear. In Episode 6, this change isn't loud. It's quiet, creeping in like smoke under a locked door. The kind of danger you don't see until it's already in the room. Dwight's operation in Tulsa has grown too fast. Money is moving, people are talking, and every small success brings a new enemy out of the shadows. The biker gang he crossed earlier hasn't forgotten. The feds are circling closer. And whispers from New York suggest the old mafia family hasn't forgiven him for stepping out of line. But the most dangerous threat isn't on the outside, it's sitting across the table from him. One of his own men, someone he helped, someone who owes him everything, has started making deals behind his back. This episode shows Dwight at his most human. He isn't the unstoppable force we met in the beginning. The confidence that once defined him now feels heavier, almost forced. You can see it in the way he watches people, trying to read their faces. You can feel the isolation settling in, a loneliness that only comes when power becomes poison. The more control he grabs, the more people he loses. The writers build this feeling slowly, through moments that seem small but hit hard. A missed phone call, a conversation that stops when he enters the room, a familiar face avoiding eye contact. These moments tell a silent story. Loyalty is fading, and respect is turning into resentment. Dwight senses it, but he can't afford to show fear. In his world, weakness is blood in the water. So he does what he's always done, he pretends to be fine. But the cracks are already too deep to hide. We also see how his daughter Tina becomes the emotional center of this episode. Her scenes aren't about the criminal world. They're about heartbreak. She wants to believe her father can change, that he can be more than the general. But the shadow of his past keeps following them both. There's a moment, brief but powerful, where Dwight tries to apologize. He wants to say all the things he never did, but the words don't come out. Silence says everything. You can see in his eyes that he's haunted, not just by what he's done, but by what he's lost, trying to build something new. Back in the streets of Tulsa, things are shifting fast. A deal goes wrong. A shipment disappears. The crew starts questioning Dwight's judgment. They talk about taking control, about running things their own way. It's the beginning of a mutiny, but Dwight doesn't see it yet. He's too focused on holding his empire together, too proud to admit it's already slipping through his fingers. The city that once felt like a second chance is now turning against him. Every corner hides a threat. Every ally hides a secret. What makes this episode stand out is how it plays with silence. There are no grand speeches, no flashy betrayals, just quiet moments filled with tension. It's in the long pauses, the looks exchanged, the subtle change in tone. You feel like something bad is coming, and you can't stop it. The pacing pulls you in, slowly building toward a breaking point. And when that moment finally arrives, it doesn't explode, it snaps. A single action, one mistake, one person deciding that loyalty no longer pays. That's when everything starts to unravel. Dwight might be a survivor, but even he can't fight the kind of betrayal that comes from the inside. Because when your own people turn against you, there's nowhere left to hide. By the end of this section, you realize this isn't just a story about crime, it's about consequence. Dwight's greatest strength, his ability to control everyone around him, has become his biggest weakness. The world he built is falling apart not because of enemies, but because of trust. And in Tulsa, trust is just another currency. Once it's gone, you can't buy it back. The episode leaves you uneasy, wondering not just who will betray Dwight, but who will survive the fallout. The pieces are moving, the tension is rising, and the game he thought he mastered is about to turn on him. Because in Tulsa King, the real war isn't fought in the streets, it's fought in the shadows between friends. The night starts quiet. Almost too quiet. Tulsa's streets are soaked in the glow of streetlights, the air thick with the kind of silence that hides bad intentions. Dwight sits alone in his bar, the place he once called his safe zone. A drink in his hand, eyes lost in thought. Everything feels normal, but deep down, he knows something isn't right. In Tulsa King Episode 6, this is where everything begins to break. The world he built starts to crack, not with noise, but with a whisper. It happens fast. A deal that should have gone smoothly ends in chaos. A car ambushed, a truck full of money gone missing. No witnesses, no explanations, just blood on the asphalt and questions no one wants to answer. Dwight's crew starts pointing fingers. Old alliances fracture, and paranoia spreads like wildfire. The loyalty that once held them together now turns into quiet suspicion. Everyone's watching everyone else, waiting for someone to slip. Dwight isn't a fool. He knows betrayal when he smells it. He's seen it too many times before in New York, in prison, even in his own family. But this one feels different. This one hurts. Because it isn't just business, it's personal. The betrayal comes from someone he called a brother, a man who shared his table, his plans, and his trust. The realization doesn't come in a grand reveal. It comes in a single glance, a brief silence, the kind that freezes time. That's when Dwight finally understands. The enemy he's been fighting wasn't out there. It was sitting right beside him all along. The episode takes its time here, letting the tension breathe. Every frame feels heavy, every look charged with emotion. You can almost hear Dwight's heartbeat echoing in the background as he pieces the puzzle together. There's no shouting, no rage, just cold understanding. The kind that only a man who's been betrayed before can show. He doesn't explode. He absorbs the pain like a soldier who's seen too much. Because for Dwight, betrayal isn't new, it's tradition. But this time, it cuts deeper. Because it costs him something he didn't know he still had. Hope. When the confrontation finally happens, it's not about guns or power. It's about history, about promises made and broken. The traitor doesn't deny it, he just justifies it. He talks about money, survival, and fear. He says Dwight's lost touch, that his time is over. Dwight listens calm and steady, until the last word falls. Then comes the silence. Long, cold, final. That's when it happens. One gunshot, one man down, no second chances. In that moment, the balance shifts. Dwight wins the fight, but loses something bigger. The trust is gone, the brotherhood dead. And the city feels smaller. Blood spreads across the floor, not just as a symbol of violence, but of what Dwight's life has become. Every victory costs him more. Every betrayal leaves him emptier. He wipes his hands, stares into the distance, and you can tell this isn't triumph. It's survival. And survival, for Dwight, doesn't feel like living anymore. The episode doesn't let the audience rest. The aftermath is haunting. The crew is shaken, not by the death, but by the message. They realize Dwight isn't just their leader, he's their warning. He's the reminder that in this world, loyalty ends with blood. Some stay out of fear, others out of respect. But everyone knows one wrong move, and they'll be next. Meanwhile, Dwight stands outside in the cold Tulsa night, cigarette burning slowly in his hand. The wind blows through the empty streets as sirens echo in the distance. He doesn't run, he doesn't hide, he just stands there, still, thinking about how quickly everything he built turned into ash. For a moment, he looks like a man mourning more than just a life. He's mourning the idea that he could ever escape what he is. The storytelling here is sharp, new melodrama, no forced emotion, just pure tension and truth. Tulsa King Episode 6 shows us that betrayal isn't about surprise, it's about inevitability. When you live in a world of crime, deceit isn't an exception, it's the rule. Dwight always knew that, but knowing doesn't make it hurt any less. By the end of this section, the world of Tulsa King feels colder. The relationships feel broken. The dream of peace is gone. And Dwight, standing in that darkness, looks like a man who's finally realized the truth. You can change your city, your crew, even your name, but you can't change your nature. And for men like Dwight, betrayal isn't the end. It's the beginning of something worse. The night after the bloodshed feels endless. Tulsa sleeps, but Dwight doesn't. He sits in the corner of his empty bar. The same place where laughter once filled the air, now haunted by silence. The tables are empty, the lights dim, and the weight of what just happened hangs over him like smoke that won't clear. His hands are steady, but his eyes are tired, the kind of tired that comes from years of fighting battles you can never truly win. He's alive, yes, but it doesn't feel like victory. It feels like the last page of a book he no longer wants to read. The city he thought he could control has swallowed him whole, and every person he tried to save has either turned on him or disappeared. Dwight finally has what he built: power, respect, money, but it all feels hollow. Because what's left when every friend becomes a ghost and every dream turns into another deal gone bad? Episode 6 slows everything down here. The violence fades, replaced by reflection. We see Dwight driving through Tulsa at dawn, the sky washed in pale blue and orange. The streets are empty, almost peaceful, but there's something heartbreaking about the silence. He passes by the places that once meant something, the shop he invested in, the diner where he shared a quiet moment with his daughter, the street corner where he made his first deal. Each turn feels like a farewell, a goodbye not just to the city, but to the man he was trying to become. There's a phone call that changes everything. Tina's voice on the other end, cold, distant, disappointed. She's heard what happened. She doesn't yell, she doesn't cry. She just says she can't do this anymore. She tells him that she loves him, but not the life he brings with him. It's quiet, heartbreaking, final. Dwight doesn't argue. He knows she's right. He's built his world out of violence, and there's no room in it for peace. When the call ends, Dwight just sits there, staring at the phone, as if hoping silence could bring her back. But all that answers him is the hum of the city waking up, a city that feels colder than ever. The next few minutes of the episode are pure emotion. No gunfire, no shouting, just raw, human pain. Dwight visits the grave of someone from his past, maybe a brother, maybe a friend. He stands there, saying nothing, just watching the wind move through the grass. It's a moment that tells us everything without a single word. He's a man who's finally realizing that power can't fix what's already broken. He's lost too much, hurt too many, and now the ghosts have come home to stay. The cinematography here is stunning. Long shadows, slow camera pans, soft lighting that makes every scene feel like a memory fading away. Dwight walks alone down an empty street, his footsteps echoing like reminders of the past. There's no music, just the sound of the wind and his quiet breathing. It feels like we're watching a man fade, not from life, but from meaning. And then, the final scene, a quiet one, but unforgettable. Dwight sits on a park bench as the sun rises. The city is behind him, glowing in the distance. He looks out, not at the chaos he created, but at the light breaking through the horizon. Maybe it's hope. Maybe it's just another illusion. But in that moment, he looks almost peaceful. The man who came to Tulsa to rebuild his life has finally accepted that some things can't be rebuilt, they can only be remembered. The narrator's voice would slow here, soft and reflective, as if speaking a eulogy for a man still breathing. Dwight hasn't died, but something inside him has. The part that believed in second chances. The part that thought loyalty still meant something. What remains is the truth, brutal, simple, and final. You can't outrun who you are. As the screen fades to black, one last line echoes like a whisper in Tulsa. Goodbyes aren't promises. They're warnings. It's the perfect ending for an episode built on betrayal and loss. No grand closure. No happy ending. Just the harsh reality of a man living with his choices. Episode 6 leaves viewers in silence, not because of shock, but because of understanding. It shows us that sometimes, the real tragedy isn't death. It's living long enough to watch everything you love burn away. And as the credits roll, you realize this isn't just a story about crime, it's about consequence. About how every empire, no matter how strong, eventually collapses from within. About how every goodbye, no matter how quiet, carries the sound of something ending for good. Dwight Manfredi's war isn't over, but in that sunrise, it feels like he's already said his final goodbye, not just to the people he's lost, but to the man he'll never be again.